Why is behavioral science so key in modern social sciences, and why are we increasingly talking about behavioral psychology, behavioral science, behavioral philosophy, behavioral politics? Because we are increasingly aware that all social science is about human behavior, whether it is individual, group, romantic, broadly social, political, conflictual, whatever kind of behavior, it is behavior that constitutes our social life. One consequence of this understanding of sociality, as Giorgio Agamben called it, social life in general, is that psychology and neuroscience are increasingly relevant and becoming increasingly adopted as scientific paradigms for the interpretation of social relationships, or what Jacques Lacan called structure. According to the Lacanian psychoanalysis, all of our social relationships are the structure within which we articulate our identities, our social style, and our personal style. And much in our interactions depends on our personal style. So understanding our personal styles and our ways of relating to others, our ways of articulating our structure and behaving within our structure allows us to influence the quality of our social life. And this is why social science today is increasingly considered to be behavioral in nature. But behavioral philosophy is perhaps the overarching discipline that interprets the concepts that are involved in behavioral views of social life and social science generally, and this is why it is becoming increasingly eclectic and integrative at the same time. It is eclectic in that it deals with all the other social sciences, in a way bringing back the time when most of the social sciences had developed their own identity by separating from philosophy, by branching out from philosophy, but more importantly, by re-examining the conceptual and methodological foundations of the behavioral understanding of social science, and by offering an in-depth understanding of the meaning of behavior. Because behavior is a phenomenology, behavior is something that we can witness as one thing, and it is quite another thing to understand the roots of behavior. For example, the psychoanalytic perspective on behavior, which has been neglected for a long time and has even been considered pseudoscience, is now making a big comeback, both in psychotherapy and modern psychiatry and modern scientific sociology and psychology, and in the broader realm of methodology of social science. And psychoanalysis is perhaps the paradigmatic example of how our understanding of behavior may not be obvious, how the roots of our behavior may be concealed from our consciousness, from our conscious everydayness, as some philosophers would label it. So behavior is the problem, it is the theme, it is the key issue with which also social science more or less grapples, and behavioral philosophy helps the other social sciences in this process by examining and constantly re-examining the foundations, the conceptual foundations and the logical foundations. And the integrative psychotherapy, which is what I have proposed as a method and as a modality of psychotherapy, is a way of understanding human relationships in their most immediate shape as they present themselves in our life difficulties, in our sense of stuckness, in our existential conditions which bring us to counseling and therapy. It is based on founding and interpreting those experiences based on model logic. Model logic is fundamentally different from propositional logic, in that operates with different operators, the operators of possibility and necessity, and it works with a key concept for model integrative psychotherapy, and that is the concept of a possible world. What is possible in one world may not be possible in another world, where the world in modern logic terms is merely a set of circumstances. In one set of circumstances, it may be possible for me to achieve something, or to become fit, or become smart, or become socially savvy. And in another set of circumstances, this might be unattainable for me. And the goal of therapy, and the goal of change, and the behavioral goal of philosophy of psychotherapy is to understand how it is possible to change one possible world for another possible world. It is possible to bring into existence, or as Galtung says, to call into existence a different model world or a different set of circumstances by focusing on different things from the ones we are typically conditioned and paternalized into focusing on in our everyday activities. So basically, a change of focus allows for the change of model worlds, and this allows for a dramatic change in the objective and consequently also subjective circumstances and conditions of our lives. And this process is deeply connected with what is often referred to as mindfulness, the philosophy of mindfulness, which has origins in the ancient philosophical thought. So by focusing on what some modern philosophers would call practices of mindfulness, which reach back into ancient practices of yogis and Christian esoterics and many other practitioners of mindfulness in the ancient times. These practices, when they are modernized, especially with the input of modern understanding of quantum physics and modern logic, become a powerful tool for self-transformation and for the transformation of our social relationships, thus influencing our social structure. So this is just one example of how behavioral perspectives work, how a behavioral perspective is applied, starting from a philosophical viewpoint to the perspective of practical psychotherapy. And there are a plethora of such applications of the behavioral conceptual perspective and behavioral interpretation of social relationships in a number of social science fields.